Sparkplug.
This is from 2002, one of the earlier releases that they had, Orchid. And this is an anthology, like Patrick said, of Victorian stories. This has been edited by, let's see, Ben Catmull and Dylan Williams.
Yep, and Dylan Williams is the late Dylan Williams, sadly passed away earlier this year. He's the publisher of Sparkplug.
There's the cover, and there's like a really cool image on the back too.
Yep, the back image is by Ted May, and the cover is by the cartoonist known as Maths.
So, so these are Victorian stories that probably most of us haven't heard of, with the exception of The Raven. That have been adapted by creators like Gabriel Bell, Kevin Huizenga, David Lasky. I'm a big fan of Victorian stories. I really like them, especially the more like horror tinged ones like these are. So I was really excited to see these. See these adaptations.
Yeah, it's a cool idea.
Yeah,
for anthology.
And a lot of them just have like great art associated with them. I think my favorite is the Kevin Huizenga one.
Oh, for sure. That's the showcase piece.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot longer than the other ones. It has like a couple different like parts to it where it kind of keeps going into flashback scenes, then into stories and stuff like that. It's very intricate and just a really cool story. But I mean, a lot of these are really cool. But and a lot of them are more psychological horror than like the Heavy Hand, had like these like creepy looking creatures and
it's not that type.
Yeah, it's psychological, like a lot of the Victorian stuff was. So yeah, I really liked a lot of these stories. It starts out with the story of the demonic Pacheco. Is that how you say that?
Yeah. Pacheco.
Which is a weird story about like some kind of like weird incestuous relationship going on, and these hanged men, and kind of like fate. Like this guy is kind of fated to have this horrible thing like kind of happening to him. There's a lot of like a lot of things happening like in the past that are kind of coming true for this guy right now. And there is like horrific imagery in it, but it is more like the psychological, like is this guy like what's actually going on here?
Yeah.
So I really like that kind of thing.
Yeah, you're right. That was.
Did you like that one?
Most of them had that element.
Yeah. There was one story that I didn't really care for in here. It was a really short story. This one here.
Oh, I like that one.
Did you?
By Ben Catmull.
The Little Red Man.
Volume.
Yeah. I like the art in it, but the story was just, it was short. It didn't really do any. It didn't really add up to anything. It didn't do anything. It was just like a blip. It's like very forgettable, I felt like. But you liked it a lot?
Yeah, well, it was short. There wasn't much to it. Most of these stories are about some kind of an apparition that a character will encounter. And yeah, you're right. Like in many of them, it's is this actually occurring, or is this just in that character's mind? So yeah, this was a book like that where a woman goes to an old castle, an empty castle, and encounters this little gnomish figure, the Little Red Man, and basically passes out from fright, and that's basically it. But I did like the story. I did think it was genuinely kind of scary and kind of freaky. I guess because of the way that it was told, and the artwork, which is kind of in a scratchboard kind of style from Ben Catmull. Also with an element of humor in there too.
Yeah.
So yeah, there wasn't much more to that one, but I did like it. I thought that was I actually noted that as one of the more effective pieces in the book.
Okay. I like the image of the actual like Red Man that he made.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's what I mean. It's like there's not much there. Like, okay, woman encounters an apparition in a castle, and it's creepy, and it I thought that's all there was to it, but it was well done.
One piece that is like less horror than anything is
comedy.
the Tobermory. And this one's by Gabriel Bell. And this one's about a man who pretty much trains a cat to speak and like to intelligently like converse with people. And during this dinner party, he pretty much like just relates things that people are saying about each other, so everybody's really like they don't like having their backstabbing comments being laid out on the table for everybody to hear. Pretty much makes everybody upset with each other in it. So, and by the end, somebody has killed the cat.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it was funny. Fun. It wasn't like as horror themed as the other ones, but it had that supernatural element that fit in with the other ones.
Yep. Like. And that was by Gabriel Bell.
That was good. Another one that I did not like, I will say, is the Raven, actually.
By David Lasky.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of like just black and white panels. As it goes along, it has like kind of the shape of the raven like in the panels, and it gets kind of more pronounced. It kind of gets more chaotic, I guess, with the images that go along as the story is told to kind of match the story. But I don't know. I was just kind of like a little unimpressed for such a huge tale to be told in here. It just kind of it kind of left me a little cold.
Mm-hmm.
You felt the same way?
Yeah, it was probably. I mean, it was probably my least favorite in there. I didn't really think much of the Raven. I think I liked every other piece though a lot.
Yeah.
That probably was my least favorite too.
Yeah.
Didn't really do much for me.
Yeah, I don't know. Kevin Huizenga was my favorite, definitely. A lot of psychological stuff in that one with a monkey and a dog with a hand in its mouth.
Oh yeah.
And that's the only one that really like goes into the kind of the modern day, as this guy kind of like Glenn Ganges kind of like looks at these journals and finds out like some other kind of visions that other people have had in the past that have kind of driven them crazy. Like he kind of found himself in that kind of situation, so there's a parallel there. But yeah, the last story I thought was kind of like, you know, sad. That was The Man with the Nose. I don't know, that was a very dense one about like a guy who like mesmerized people, and this woman is kind of like having she's going on her honeymoon, and she's kind of telling her her new husband about this experience she had when she was younger about being mesmerized, and how she has like kind of visions of him like just staring at her in her bedroom and stuff like that. And then at the end, she just kind of like disappears. Yeah. Supposedly with a man. It's just kind of a creepy, like you don't really see anything in it, but just like the things that are described in it are really creepy.
Yeah, that was actually one of my favorites in there too. That and that one is done by Dylan Williams, who is the publisher of Sparkplug and edited the anthology. And yeah, it's kind of the opposite of the Ben Catmull one, which is so minimalist. This one has a lot of text. You really get kind of a full short story. In the way that Dylan Williams adapted that particular tale, and you're right, it is scary. The way that this wife disappears at the end and had these visions. So that was one of my favorites. And the Kevin Huizenga one, Green Tea, really is the showpiece of the anthology. The present day, he uses his frequent stand-in Glenn Ganges character. And he, as a student, is researching. Is he researching like hallucinations or something like that?
I think a bunch of paranormal stuff.
And he himself encounters this really bizarre image of a dog with a human hand hanging out of its mouth, and it kind of drives this character crazy. And then the student, Glenn Ganges' character, encounters a story of someone in Victorian times who had a similar experience with a little monkey that was always appearing and taunting him to the point where this other character committed suicide. So it was really scary, really effective, really well done. And the Orchid Anthology is great. I mean, it was came out in like early 2000s, something like that. So
2002.
Yeah, so it's like it is contemporary with something like Kramer's Ergot 4, and it was talked about a lot at that time as really kind of a great showcase for a lot of these young talents who were not as well known at that time. I mean, Kevin Huizenga now is well known in alternative comic circles, but this was kind of one of the first things that I think people really noticed by him. Gabrielle Bell has early work in here, so a lot of the artists that appear here went on to have pretty great careers in alternative cartooning, especially Kevin Huizenga, and he really steals the show here with his Green Tea story. I think it's kind of one of his best things he's done. So yeah, overall, Orchid is a great package. It's just a really solid anthology. My least favorite was The Raven by David Lasky, but that's also the only one I didn't really like. They're all at least really good, and there's some excellent pieces here. So it's a really tightly edited, focused anthology. Great hit to miss ratio as far as stories that are successful. So yeah, this is a terrific package, and I also think I have to say, like, I usually don't mention like the price of the books when I review them, but this thing is $8. I mean, this is like you get like a lot of great comics in here for $8, and I also think it's great that Sparkplug still has this available. And still makes this work. You can easily order it from Sparkplug's website and have one of the best anthologies probably that's come out in the past 10 years or so for comics. I guess more than 10 years now, believe it or not. So a great anthology. Both great books from Sparkplug, wouldn't you say?
I would say so.
Yeah, and I wanted. I don't know if we'll do more of these, but I kind of wanted to do shows that were kind of like publisher spotlight episodes, especially looking at the real small press publishers, like places like Sparkplug or Koyama or something like that. A lot of people know Dylan Williams was the publisher of Sparkplug, who sadly passed away earlier this year. And there were many tributes to him online. In fact, there's even a blog dedicated to his life and work and writing that we can probably link to on Comics and More along with this podcast. So in part, I kind of want to do this episode as a tribute to someone who I never met, but who sounded like he was just a really terrific publisher and a real advocate for comics. If you go to Sparkplug's page, you'll see all the great comics you can still get from Sparkplug. They're going to keep it going, which is wonderful. And there's also a little kind of mission statement that Dylan Williams wrote in like 2007, kind of talking about what Sparkplug was and what he wanted it to be. Very humble and inspiring. So, Sparkplug is a company that, I don't think they're raking in the dough on these. These kind of books are never going to have mass appeal. But I really admire publishers who put this kind of work out there just because they like it and they think it's important. And certainly in the case of these two books, it was pretty great stuff. So, highly recommended.
Yeah, from me too.
Yep. All right. Well, that does it for Sparkplug and Orchid and the Heavy Hand this week. We will be back soon with another episode of the Comics and More podcast.
All right. See you later. Thanks.
Bye-bye.